Hello, I hope everybody's well. Unfortunately, the news doesn't seem that good again, does it, regarding all of this? If we get up the tracker and everything, we'll see that the actual, numbers aren't great. I don't know if this one's totally up to date, because B&O Newsroom is generally the best one I find for getting all the info off. If we have a look at this, the map is definitely turning more yellow and red as more countries get infections and, the infection rate increases in lots of countries, which is not good. South Korea, 5,621 cases. Iran, 2,922 cases. Italy, 2,502 cases. Japan, 304. Germany, 244. France, 212. Oh, bloody hell. They were, France and Germany were only like 80 cases a week ago, if that. And again, it's no surprise, really, is it? But Spain, 193. US, 127 with 9 deaths. Singapore 110, Hong Kong 102, Switzerland 68, Kuwait 56, UK is 53 at the moment where I am. All right, Mike. Oh, is that a Palpatine quote, a Sheev quote? Your thing came today, Mike. If you didn't see the message, I'll open it for you now. I'll need to fashion you a battery cover for it, but this has come so I can sort your parcel out at whatever point you want it sent, with your filters and all that. But basically, let me get this open. There's a little clip for it. All right, Hype. Yep. But yeah, so this was only like 10 quid because the seller said it was missing the bottom plate, so I just need to fashion my own for it. But yeah, one of these, again, ones that goes up to like 2 sieverts. They're all US military ones as far as I'm aware, Hype. It's just a seller that managed to get like literally thousands of dials in at one point. So every now and then I keep getting the load from him. The massive continuous timer ones, I'm not sure what they're from, but he's had loads of those in, and I like those ones because there's quite a bit of radium on each dial. And they're like £3 a dial, so they're generally just a very cheap way of buying stuff as a check source. But I'll get the other ones out as much as I should wash my hands afterwards. I'll make sure I do it at the end of the stream. These come from a massive assortment of different ones, this type. Because you might be able to see on there that some are completely different if it focuses, like speedometers. There's like a massive assortment of different gauges on all of these. Yeah, there's gas masks all in that box. Let's just have a look at what this sort of reads if I just stick this on top of all these. Yeah, pretty high. It's not as bad as the others because not all of these are radium. Some have been repainted old radium dials where there's just a bit of trace on it. Yeah, I might be able to fashion one for you, Mike. All it is literally going to need is just a bit of wire in there, maybe a bit of sellotape. But yeah, I'll show you how it works on my other one. But yeah, these are very good because you just literally stick a double A battery in there. Yeah, you just have some sort of cover on there, and then yeah, you can read it while it's on your belt or your breast pocket or whatever, because it just comes up on a little digital display. Does micro sieverts all the way up to sieverts. I'm going to send that him Hype when I send him this other stuff, because we're just putting it all in a parcel. There's a reason I won't go into on here because it's quite private, but I've not been able to visit Mike recently, so what I'm going to do is just sort him out a parcel soon with a load of filters for him and his family. This dosimeter that's a gift for him, so he's got a dosimeter, and yeah, that night vision sort of laser thing you got him. So yeah, let's go back to talk about, shall we, about the unfortunately coronavirus, because that's the thing most people are coming in for at the moment on these streams. Don't forget to like the stream, everybody, if you've not so far, because that's helps share them, especially because YouTube will demonetize this. So yeah, it's spreading pretty quickly. If people weren't following up the UK action plan, it at least seems they want to be quite honest in the UK, which is a good thing, as in saying we know it could get potentially quite bad, rather than saying everything will be fine. But my main concern of the UK is they want to leave everything to the last minute before implementing anything, which doesn't bode well. really you ought to be proactive rather than reactive with this sort of stuff, with quarantine measures and things like that. Whereas the UK seems to be saying, well, it could potentially get really bad, but let's wait for it to get worse before we start doing things. If I lived in an urban place, Guy, I'd do it pretty much straight away now, seeing as you can see other people doing it on, like, in London and, like, commuting places, so. Yeah, that will work. Mazman, just do that for the time being if it doesn't arrive before you need it. Yeah, I think sadly it will spread very easily in India, especially in poorer communities in India. Because I think the thing people forget is that there's probably a lot more cases than we know about, just simply due to lack of test kits, lack of testing facilities. It's in Argentina and Chile now, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's in a lot of Africa. We know it's in Senegal, Nigeria, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. All those sort of countries, Israel, around Africa, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is in a lot of sub-Saharan Africa at this point, and just sadly there will not be the medical infrastructure to deal with it. But yeah, I think that's the sad thing, is you have to bear in mind in a lot of countries the numbers will be higher than just we know about. I mean, it's already in Iceland at this point, bloody hell. So yeah, it's easier almost to say what countries don't have it at this point. Some in Central Asia, although I'm sure they've got it and they just don't have the capacity to test for it at the moment. Because bear in mind, it's in Afghanistan and Pakistan, a few sort of island nations, and then it's mostly just some South African and African nations not reporting. But I think Poland had their first case today, didn't they? I don't know if it's actually on the map yet, but Poland's not on the map yet on this one with it, but I'm pretty sure I read on B&O Newsroom that Poland do have it now. So yeah. All right, cool. What's the difference between that one hype and the other one? Just to quickly go off on that. Did I send you a message last night about the really cool old Russian Geiger I ordered? Do you know much about the DP63? Oh, that is cool, that one. I'll probably pass on that one for now, just because I'm saying I've already got one like this for myself, and they're pretty much, identical. But yeah, just going off on the side track to Geiger counters, the DP63, which is that weird old Soviet one, which kind of looks like a DP5, but it's got the GM tubes built into the case rather than having a wand. Okay, so what's in crazy with this, I hope my one comes with it, but they don't always do it, they sometimes remove them, is that they actually have a massive radium back screen on them that they used to put behind the numbers to light up, before they use whatever other materials, like on the DP5s and that. And on the DP63, this can give close to 1 Rontgen per hour worth of radiation with a beta and gamma Geiger counter. It's an insane thing, because it's just literally where they got a big plate and then slathered radium paint all over it. I work doing a couple of different jobs. I do the YouTube stuff during the week. I volunteer at Animal Shelter Thursdays, so I'll be up there tomorrow. And at weekends, yeah, I do a cleaning job at a garden centre. Actually, to be honest, I'm getting rid of you if you're saying that it's fear-mongering. Because, no, it's not. If you don't take this seriously, it's going to have massive consequences. You're asking weapon collector, and he doesn't have one. I've got the Romanian M85, which is very good. That doesn't sound like a bad idea, Lee. Obviously, you want to make sure that whatever antibacterial stuff bear in mind, if it's antibacterial, it's not antiviral. You probably want antimicrobial. But in terms of, soaking something like a sock in a cleansing material and then putting that in front of a filter, as long as the fumes aren't gonna get up you, Sadly, Robin, I think unless you show them the stuff coming out of China, I mean, gradually, most people are and governments are shifting to the idea that it's a problem. It's just they're being far too slow. As we said earlier, they're being reactive, not proactive, or preactive. They're waiting for things to happen before doing stuff. The streets are mean, said Call him Adam. All right. So the annoying thing is, I know it's not, but every time people say about things with electrolytes, it makes me think of that movie. It's got electrolytes and shit. What's it? Idiocracy, or whatever it's called. I did a thing on that Dizzy Sniper, but basically spray it down with rubbing alcohol or a similar disinfectant, then take it off and just put it on a shelf near the door or whatever. Yeah, Idiocracy. It was Idiocracy. Let me just get B&O Newsroom up and we'll see what updates there's been today. I'll just read them out because it's always, I think, a bit sobering just to read the timeline. So we'll go from 4th of March. I'll just read downwards. I won't bother reading out the times, but bear in mind, this is all the ones from today. This is in GMT as well, by the way. 9 new cases in Osaka Prefecture, Japan, 50 new cases in Netherlands, 1 new death in South Korea, 4 new cases in Bavaria, 1 new case in Northern Territory, Australia, 10 new cases in Belgium, 586 cases and 15 new deaths in Iran, 1 new case in Portugal, 1 new case in Greece, 3 new in Austria, 3 new cases in Iceland, 2 new cases in Belarus, so it's in Belarus now as well, 37 new cases in Germany, 2 new cases in Sweden, 1 new case in Chiba Prefecture, Japan, 2 new cases in Scotland, United Kingdom, so again, that's going up on the UK numbers, 1 new case and a fatality in Iraq, 14 new cases in Malaysia, 293 new cases in South Korea, 22 new cases in India, 5 new cases in Australia, 2 new cases in South Australia, 22 new cases in Switzerland, 10 new cases in Madrid, that's in Spain, 5 new cases in Japan, first case in Poland, 1 new case in Placer County, California, 1 new case in Los Angeles, 1 new case in Queensland, Australia, 1 new case in Contra Costa Country, California, 1 new death in South Korea. China's National Health Commission reports 4 new cases and 1 new death across the mainland, excluding Hubei, and 115 new cases and 37 new deaths in Hubei province. That's where Wuhan is, for the people who don't know. 2 new cases in Orange County, California, 142 new cases and 1 new death in South Korea, 4 new cases in British Columbia, Canada. So yeah. I think that's generally just quite sobering when you read, the timeline of where all the cases are being reported, because obviously it's a lot more frequent. Now it's in different countries rather than it just being a daily update from one particular country. Well, as I've been saying, Abdul, if ever I need to use public transport or anything like that, yeah, but 5G is not ionizing radiation. Oh, it's Hubei, is it? Not Hubei. Okay, thank you. Hubei. Right, I'll try and remember that. I might forget, but thank you, Hype. Yeah, if you didn't see Captain Flaphills, the US Surgeon General the other day said, stop buying masks, we need them for doctors, also they don't work. So, and I think Germany now has banned citizens from buying masks because the government wants the complete stock of them. But to be honest, you could have seen this coming. It's because, yes, masks do work if you're using the right type and you know how to decontaminate them properly. But as we were saying in yesterday's stream, I think what a lot of us would rather happen is just doctors literally be honest about it, or governments be honest and say, look, there's a limited supply. Doctors wearing these masks, will help more people in the long run than if you have a mask. I'd rather they just be honest with people like that. But sadly, a lot of them are, just literally saying masks don't work at all. And then, but we want the masks. Rubbing alcohol is what I've always been recommending Gauge Lion. If you look behind me, see that big 5-litre sort of jerry can thing of rubbing alcohol? You can still get rubbing alcohol fairly cheap online. It's not been selling out as fast as hand sanitizer and stuff like that. Buy rubbing alcohol either at 70% or dilute it down to about 70%, and then put it in a spray bottle or whatever, hand pump type thing. People are saying as well, which is good advice, you can mix rubbing alcohol with aloe vera kind of gel, and then use that as makeshift hand sanitizer if you can't get the real stuff. As good as I can be, Stephen. I mean, again, it's hard to say what's going to happen. Well, if we're assuming, Gamer, that the mask will even be dispatched, because a lot of stuff at the moment from China, I've just had parcels either delayed or cancelled. If it gets dispatched, just leave it a few days so there's definitely no virus on it. You can sanitize it if you want, but it'll be fine in that regard. It's more, are the factories even exporting at the moment? Yeah, you could do that, KAS. If you look up there, see that blue-looking mask there and the white one? Those are Soviet PTM masks, which are basically a kind of cotton-type mask that the Soviets designed for fallout, that was designed to be very cheap and easy to make. So yes, you could certainly make a cotton mask and sterilize it, better than nothing by a mile. Thank you very much, Eric. He said canned food and dry goods are starting to run out on the shelves now in Sweden. Canned meatballs are completely out where I was today. Refrigerated goods are still fully stocked. Interesting to know, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Thank you, Robin. For the people that weren't on yesterday, I went to the pharmacy to pick up some prescriptions yesterday because, of course, when you have chronic illness, you have to keep going and picking stuff up, and that's one of the worries for me. I've been trying to stock up a bit more on meds, but it's never, a really straightforward thing. Anyway, when I was there, the pharmacist was telling me they've completely sold out of hand sanitizer. They can't get any on back order at the moment. They don't normally stock that many surgical mask type things, but they're completely sold out and can't get any more of those in. When I looked on the shelves, lots of cough medicines and things like that are selling out or not there. Same for like paracetamol and that sort of stuff, ibuprofen. And, an old bloke came in asking, could he buy hand sanitizer because him and his wife can't find any anywhere. And they were saying, sadly, it's all sold out. It's literally sold out everywhere and they can't even back order it. So, it does make me worry for some people, especially the twats that, buying all this stuff and then selling it at a massive price to price gouge. There are legitimately vulnerable people that need this stuff and they're not going to be able to get it. That's all right, Robin. Do you have pet rats then? What were you getting them, like the kibble type things? Yeah, exactly, Hype. That's the good news of parcels, at least. It's why I'm far less concerned about parcels than, public places, to be honest. I can try it, Calvit. I mean, I don't have a Chinese FMJ05 military style one. I've got two variants of the MF11, a good MF11 and a bad MF11. I think they're both MF11Bs, aren't they? But I'm pretty sure the NATO filter at least works on one of the MF11s. Thank you, PhD of Life. Let's search that up. But I know there is a shitload of different things you can get and use. Yeah, I've had them before, Robin. They are lovely animals. I know a lot of people wouldn't think so, but yeah, you can get them really tame and all that, can't you? They're like little dogs, really. Okay, yeah, so that is quite cheap. So yeah, 28 glutarahide. I can't pronounce that, but yeah, it's good to know all the different things you can get, especially the things people haven't started panic buying yet, and running stuff out with. The easiest way is getting a load of old pillowcases or something like that, bed sheets, cutting them up into strips, sewing them together, and so you've got a decent thickness, and then just fashion that into a mask. Yeah, I mean, what's really annoying in some countries is obviously where that you have politicians saying it's not serious, or it's done by our political opponents or whatever else, all that sort of bullshit, politicizing it. I'd say yes, Tacti, personally. Oh, that's interesting to know, Hype. So what, do they last longer on kind of just flat plastic type surfaces? That's all right. I know, like I said in that video, it was just the quick, easy way of doing it with a screwdriver, but, it's worth doing. Right, hope you're all right over there, Bobby Brainstorm, but just because there's no confirmed cases doesn't mean there aren't cases. This is the problem, A lot of the time it's lack of test kits and things like that. That sounds like a good idea, Captain Flat Pills, and I think that's similar to what CMAC just said. I think that should work absolutely fine, Snickers, as long as it's airtight. So yeah, decent quality duct tape should be fine for that. Yeah, I totally believe you when you say that, PhD of Life, just because pretty much every single channel you see with doctors on or whatever are literally all saying, it is a lot more serious than they're letting on. I think that's why it's more sensible where a lot of countries, like what Hype's saying about the test kits, are doing the thing of just if you have enough of the symptoms, you probably have it. And they better take all the safeguards of isolating you and everything else rather than saying, well, we've not got a test kit, so even if it looks like you've got pneumonia, you're coughing your guts out and all that, you can't have it, which is quite an irresponsible thing to do, really, isn't it? I'm pretty sure the PG one is a Ghost thread, but I'm not completely certain. Oh yeah, hopefully all of that does come back, and when they reopen all the factories, that the people aren't contagious there. Because I think the worst case scenario I can think of is obviously in Shanghai, Beijing, wherever they open all the factories again, people go back, but some people still have it, and it just starts all over again. That could be very potentially true. See, Oliver, over here, they're saying even all retired doctors and that they want to get back out of service, just give a quick form to say they're qualified as doctors again, just so they've got more, essentially, doctors for the front line. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream. Thank you, Titan, for reminding people, because there's over twice the people on than likes. People buying toilet paper, probably because they don't want to run out of toilet paper when they've got the shits, I would imagine, if they're under self-quarantine. That would be my guess. I mean, it would be a pretty shitty thing, pun intended, to run out of, wouldn't it? Toilet paper. I don't know what you mean, get infected from pee. What's pee? If you mean pee and poop, apparently that is infectious, yeah. Yeah, the WHO has lost a lot of credibility over this because they were just trying to downplay it, I think, to appease the CCP, weren't they? Which hasn't gone well. No, I've not seen Iranian morgue videos, but that sounds pretty grim. I mean, I've seen a couple of videos from Iran, but not that many. Some of just people collapsing in the streets again. But I've seen a lot of videos coming out of like Wuhan and that certainly was not good. What you were seeing there. Quite a lot of different type oats, rice, lots of dry food, lots of canned food. We keep a lot of stuff in the house anyway. So at the moment, it's just been stocking up on more of the stuff we'd have anyway. Again, if you don't need it, you can always eat it later on or donate it to a homeless shelter or something like that. Well, I think it's sensible, Robin, that they're doing that. I mean, it's a bit silly in the UK. They've been saying, oh, because it doesn't have a high fatality rate in children, we probably shouldn't close schools. But the problem is if they don't close the schools, kids get it and then give it to their parents or grandparents. That's a lot more serious, isn't it? Even if we assume that kids, are all right with it. And I'm sure, kids will die from it, just not in as great a number as adults. I'd say just get one of those 5-litre type ones like that and then just water it down for spray bottles. That's a very economical way of doing it. I've seen the Alex Jones thing, PhD of Life, where he's with Jesse Ventura, if that's the one you're on about, the quite famous one. Yeah, we were given the briefing, although they asked me to do a load of it on Sunday at work about all of this stuff, because at least my employer's being sensible, where they've literally said, they will pay you if you need to be off because you're self-isolating and all that. They're not doing the shit a lot of companies are doing where they say, well, we might fire you or might not pay you if you get the symptoms, so just come into work anyway, which is obviously a stupid idea. So luckily my employer is not being stupid like that, but sadly it seems loads of employers are doing that because they've been talking about that on the UK news, where there are people saying literally, I can't afford to pay my rent unless I go to work. But what if I get the symptoms? You know, that's clearly, you know, a bad thing. But, you know, yeah, good idea, Chad Chuddington. I've got a load of peanut butter and honey in the cupboard. Thank you, person whose name I am not going to be able to pronounce, for the $5 Canadian. He says, I have around 6 months of food and canned goods. How bad do you think this will be by the end of April? Is there a possibility of social collapse? I'd hope not, but you never know. It depends, I think, how well governments deal with it, how well food stores are kept supplied, because I guess you have to worry, don't you, about other people running out of food and then getting desperate and things like that. I mean, that's a good thing if they're doing that in Shanghai, but yeah. That's like saying that's the issue they're saying here, that the government should basically just bail out companies or pay people sick leave for the companies, you know, because it is going to be a massive problem if you have a huge amount of the workforce off, either for businesses going bust or people feeling like they need to go in despite being ill and infecting everybody. Generally, Chin they are, unless they've sold out. Let me have a quick look on eBay for you, but I never used to have any issue finding them. Right, I found one for $5.99, and the seller's got more than 10 available. So there you go. Sometimes they're cheaper than that, but if you just want to literally get one for £6, it's not an awful price for putting on a Finish M61 or whatever. Thank you again, Robin. Cheers. But yeah, I think at the moment what most people just need to do is just take sensible precautions, make an action plan of what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing, you know, work out which of their relatives or friends of the family or whatever are more at risk than others, you know, and just plan accordingly. Yeah, can do. I was planning on streaming for an hour, so yeah, I can stay on till 2 p.m. if the UK announces them on time. Hello, Shrimp Zoo. Cheap but good gas mask. Again, I don't know at the moment, just because so much is sold out everywhere. Right, let me try and catch up the comments. Sorry, I was dealing with somebody that I thought was a troll, and then I was checking their messages, and they were. No, I wouldn't recommend SCBA or scuba systems to anybody, because the problem is you need to be trained to use them. Thank you again, Joseph. If that is how your name's pronounced, I can never sure when there's all the numbers in the names, but yeah, the issue is with like rebreather things and SCBAs and all that is unless you're trained to use them, they can potentially be quite dangerous. Again, if you're trained and you have all the gear for it, of course, go ahead if you need to use them. But for most people, I think they're less cost effective than just simply using a mask with a filter, and there's more potential for it to go wrong. And thank you again, Eric. Yeah, so what we're saying is you need to be very, very careful, I guess, Eric, that, you know, if you're out somewhere and you think it's a risk, wear the proper clothing and a respirator. But ideally, everything I think is just going to end up being self-quarantining for ages, because remember, the main thing we've all been talking about is containing the spread or slowing the spread, because the issue is, of course, that, you know, if too many people catch it at once, that's when hospitals become overwhelmed. And in the UK, we've certainly got a problem where the NHS will not be able to cope if too many people get it at once, because what do they have, 50 critical care beds or something, they were saying? And there's going to be a lot more than 50 people at once needing oxygen support and things like that. And that's spread across the UK. So if you get one town or city or one county where it gets really bad, I'm just going to wave to all the people doing a little wave hand symbol. So it is Joseph. Yeah, so thank you, Joseph. £400 for an FM53 isn't an awful price, Hanson Nipple. I mean, prior to this, it would be a bit expensive, but now that's probably relatively cheap compared to how masks are inflating in price. So up to you, but, you know, if you've got the money to spare, it's not an awful price one. I'd say at least 3 weeks for each family member. That's quite worrying, Shrimp Zoo, with that, but it doesn't surprise me because you see that in a lot of places where there's, you know, doctors or whatever everywhere without the protective gear on, or, you know, enough protective gear. And that's, sorry, I think why it initially became a big problem in China was that lots of the doctors were just not, you know, briefed or kind of geared up properly for dealing with something very contagious. So if they were following normal kind of, you know, surgical procedures or whatever, they then ended up getting infected. And what you really don't want is infected medical staff who could then pass it on to patients, especially if they end up dealing with vulnerable patients. Well, fallout's due to radiation, but if you put duct tape around that Scott filter, it would work, otherwise no. I'm sure, Gamer, it's just a regular cough. Check your temperature and things like that. And then if you're worried, phone whatever your non-emergency number is where you can report it and they'll tell you what to do. But don't go in and see a GP or like a hospital or anything. Because, you know, unless you're at death's door, the problem is if you end up going into a hospital or whatever, you risk infecting lots of other people. I don't know, John. Oh, thank you very much, Gage. What's the UK number at the moment? Like 50, 51, something like that? Let's have a look. 53 at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if it jumps up another 10 or 20, but again, it depends on test kits, doesn't it? And all that sort of stuff, because if they're not doing many tests, or the test kits aren't very accurate, you're not going to get the true extent of numbers. If you post a Discord ID to anybody that's donated, you can get on the server if you've got a Discord ID. It depends how much it's rationed out via calories, but at least a month per person in the house. But again, if you then cut it down to like 1,500 calories a day or something, it'd be a couple of months worth. Oh yeah, I watched that PhD Alive because Tom from 13 O'Clock Podcast recommended it to me. But yeah, the problem is, yeah, 50 ICU beds. That's the problem. It was some number like that, they said, but it's, you know, that there is not enough beds with air systems, whatever they were saying, that, you know, so if enough people come down with it at once, that's when you see the fatality number rise, as they saw, you know, in China. The issue is if hospitals get overwhelmed, what can they do? The problem is, I think, where I was saying with the news and everything for ages, I think they're being very irresponsible, trying to massively downplay it to avoid financial implications. And then, of course, what you see happen is as soon as everybody starts realizing it's a lot worse than they were letting on, everybody starts panicking, rather than just slowly telling people, maybe start thinking of preparing several months ago. Oh, we need a vaccine, really, don't we? But vaccine takes ages to develop. Dr. Asim, let's see who that is then. Has he said anything? The only thing I can see is that veggie burgers are more likely to give you a heart attack on recent news when I clicked him. But it could be Radio 419. It could just very innocently be a regular coronavirus. I mean, it's up to people what they believe, but the problem is it's out and about doing damage, So I don't think at this point it matters what you believe in, how it started, but don't go blaming regular Chinese people for it or anything, because even if we assume it was a bioweapon, it's the fault of the CCP, not a regular Chinese person. But yeah, I mean, personally, I really don't know what to believe because there is just so much different information coming out on it. But the point is, it's here now, so you have to deal with it. It's not. It doesn't. It's a bit like I said before, the analogy of a nuclear war. It doesn't matter who starts it. If the nukes fly and everybody gets nuked or irradiated or whatever, who does it matter who started it and who won? For the regular person, it does not matter. I would say yes, Lifu, if I'm pronouncing your name right. Especially if you need to use public transport or something like that. Of course, if you're in your own car and you can set the air to recirculate, no, because that's protective enough anyway. But if you need to go into a very busy urban place or use public transport, I would say yes. If people give you weird looks, fuck them. But that's why vaccines need to be properly researched and developed, and not just rolled out instantly. Because if you roll out a poor vaccine, there's consequences to it. Let me show you, Joseph, because I've got some behind me, or at least I thought I did. Where's that 3M mask on? I put it back in the bag. Put it in my car tomorrow, but this type. Is that a 6038 filter it's called? Yeah, a 6038 filter. That's a plastic encased P3 filter. They're pretty good. There's a lot of different filters you can get which are good for 3M masks, but the plastic encased ones are good because you can wipe them down. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. ABEC means that it's organic vapor, inorganic vapor, acidic gas, and ammonia. A1 just means organic vapor. So the letters, when it comes to things like ABEC, all refer to different groups of gases or vapors. The P refers to particulate protection. No, because Bob, as I was saying, the good thing for me at least is when I'm volunteering on Thursdays or going to work, I can take my car. So I'm not on public transport. When I'm working, it's generally quite isolated work, so I'm not dealing with a lot of people. So in that regard, I don't really need to bother. But again, of course, if you were using public transport, I think that's the big difference, because I think public transport, everybody's literally crammed in, aren't they? I've got a Moldex mask on order, but annoyingly it didn't come with the filters, so when I review it, I'm just going to have to try and review it without the filters and then order some filters for it separately, because again, in the picture they advertised it with filters, but then when you read the description in the small print, it does not come with filters. Up to you, Food. I really don't know if that would be a good idea or not. I suppose it depends if there's a good filter. The best thing would be a filtration system in the air vents, I imagine, rather than just simply blocking the air vent. Well, if combination filters always cover more things, Abdul. So, yeah, if you had the option and you could get them at a reasonable price, combination filters are better in terms of they protect you from more things and more contingencies. But just for the virus, P3/P100 is good enough. But yeah, by all means, if you're worried about other threats, there's no reason not to get those filters. Do I think it's going to get bad? Yes. Hopefully China's over the worst of it so far, but we really don't know. The UK, it could potentially get very bad, yes. Thank you very much, Zach. You said, get you some big bags of rice. Any good sites for getting mass Discord? What's your Discord 4-digit number? I need that as well, Zach. But thank you very much. Good sites for getting masks. That's a bit difficult at this point because on eBay, everything is selling out or being price gouged. On Amazon, everything is sold out or being price gouged. In the US, are there any hardware stores people haven't thought in looking in yet where you can get actual like dust mask type things? What's their name? There's that US site that sells lots of surplus things. trying to remember what they're called. But they're quite good for if they've still got anything in. They used to sell things like Czech and, like Polish Cold War masks and things like that, like often very cheap. I can't think of I'm pretty sure you've donated before, haven't you, damn it? So let me add you. If you haven't, then you've just locked out with asking at this moment. But yeah, don't forget, to people that have donated, you can be added on Discord, but the best time to ask is when you donate, so I don't forget that you've done it. Right. Anybody that I add, how I do it is I send them a friend's request when they've accepted that. The easiest way is just PM me and then I'll send you an invite in case I forget. But has Zach got back to me with his full Discord ID? Sportsman Guide, that's it. Thank you, David. Sportsman Guide. Ah, yeah, Zach has. Yeah, so for anybody asking, if Sportsman Guide still has anything in, they are one of the good US sites. As much as I'm not in the US, so I don't know. It doesn't like your name. It says check spelling, all that. Let me check the capitalizations and all that on your name and see if I can figure it out from that. Let me try it without a capital F at the beginning and see if that makes a difference. No. Let me try 2 capitals. No, at the moment it doesn't like your name. So can you try it again, Funky, for real? Because for whatever reason it doesn't like it. The Israeli M15 is a very good mask, though. Jack says, would Scott Half face masks used for asbestos be any good? I've seen lots of eBay and cheaper filters. Yes, if they're good enough for asbestos removal type things, good enough for this. The thing is, you have to think what people haven't thought to buy yet when they panic buy stuff. That's why all like the just basic dust masks and surgical masks sold out everywhere first. Because a lot of people didn't even know that you could get like surplus masks or industrial style masks. And then slowly you've seen people getting into those as well to start buying them. Ah, Funk for real, that's why. Let me add you now. Still doesn't like it. Let me try it with less capitals in it, in case that works. If you click the bit at the bottom of Discord, it should auto put it into, it should also auto copy in things. No, Little Vamp, I have to check that. Was that in the group thing? I missed that if you posted that. Oh, thank you, 8 chips. Hang on. Just the flu in it. Jokes aside, delivering pizza to homes all day for work is like asking for the coos. Appreciate the content. Can you wear any protective gear doing that? Because, yeah, I would not want to be a courier or a postman at this sort of time because the amount of door handles, doorbells, all that you're touching. Oh, that's a point. If you're ringing people's doorbells and knocking on the door, you might want to hand sanitize after handling money or all that sort of stuff. Because, yeah, I imagine at the moment that would be a very easy way of picking it up off the surfaces. I keep forgetting all the things that you potentially touch, like door handles and taps and things like that. Yeah, let me add you as well, integrator. Sorry, I'm just getting around to the problem is the chat keeps moving when I'm trying to do stuff. Again, don't forget to PM me if I've sent you a friend's invite. So, yeah, Sunstrom half face mask will be absolutely fine. Did what's his name work out what his thing was, Zach? All right, let me try and get his one copied in again. But yeah, Zach, if you're still watching, try and copy and paste your Discord ID again. Just because, oh, and thank you, John, or Joan. He said, the entire situation feels like a really bad trip. It does feel very clown worldish or fake, doesn't it, at times? Just because you keep thinking it's literally like the playbook from a disaster movie, and then it keeps just getting worse. Let me just try Funky. Oh, I've got your one working. It was Funky for real, but with capitals after each thing. Right, done. So I figured that out just from the things you've done before. Right, okay. Invite to server. Right, yeah, if I've sent you a friend's request, don't forget to just PM me, because sometimes you don't always appear in, like, the recently added friends, so then just PM me and say invite, please. I don't know, Arnold. That might be a bit dodgy. I really don't know. I mean, if both countries in theory don't have laws against it, I don't see why not. But again, sometimes there's stuff that you can legally own in two countries that you're not allowed to either just post or, like, take on transit things. I really don't know. I'm not a lawyer or a policeman, so, probably not the best person to ask. Yeah, I mean, I don't have all that many PhD of life at the moment, but if other people in the chat have them, you might be able to answer them. That'd be helpful. The good thing is when Hype's on as well, he's Fregat in the chat. He's a trained biologist or whatever it is he is, so he generally knows a lot of stuff about this sort of stuff and, can answer people's questions as well much better than I can, because he's more actually qualified in that other than just, like, I like NBC stuff, so I can talk about masks. 3M 3200. Let me look them up. Because the problem is with the 3M masks. Oh, that looks all right. So that's the one where it has the front loading filter. Yeah, I'd say that'd be absolutely fine. For Bob said don't do the crossbow thing. Okay, so he said it's not a good idea to put one in your car if you go through the Eurotunnel. What was the thing I was reading before? Oh, Kevin says, what filter is good for tear gas from Hong Kong? NEP3 P100 filters, same ones for the virus. So, the filters that you get on hardware masks like this, P3, P100, just means they offer very good particulate protection. Dust masks, as long as they make a good face seal. Of course, you're going to want goggles as well for tear gas because it gets in your eyes. So, yeah, the nice thing is at least most stuff that would protect you from tear gas also protects you from the virus and vice versa. Cheers, PhD of life. But the other thing as well is if you're dealing with tear gas, you might want to get a combination filter, like an A2, P3 or whatever, just so it gives you some protection as well from other vapors that might be in the gas. Especially because some people are saying expired tear gas has stuff that can potentially be poisonous in it. That's the thing, Glass. You need kind of a combination. Tear gas itself, CS and CN, they're a very fine particulate, so they're blocked by a particulate filter. The problem is often it's mixed with other stuff to disperse it, which can also have poor health effects. Swimming goggles would work. Yeah, if you've got swimming goggles, you can get them cheaply. Get swimming goggles. I really don't know if there's any legitimacy to all the stuff about silver being used to disinfect stuff. I really don't know. Right. It depends on how you mean expire. See, they expire as in if they're the charcoal impregnated ones, that eventually expires just like charcoal filters expires and stops working. If you mean would it lose its impermeability, like blocking water from getting through, not really. I mean, some will eventually, but yeah. Oh, it's raining pretty heavily now. Don't know if you can hear that. It was a pretty miserable day outside. But yeah, so the point is that, in all honesty, with NBC suits, the newer they are, the better. But also, if you want something just simply to protect you from fluids, I would say get an old raincoat or something like one of those Taichem suits where they're just made from a plasticky or rubber material. I've got something I can actually show you. I bought the other day specifically for this, and there's still decent prices online. So let me go get it, and I'll be right back. Right, I won't put all this on now, but I ended up getting one of these, where you can get the sort of like waterproof high-vis jackets, because on eBay you can buy these brand new still, the quite thick, plasticky ones. What's it made out of, I think? Polyester and PVC. So yeah, you can get those. I was saying these are generally quite cheap, and yeah, you can get these much cheaper than buying actual NBC gear. And unless you're working against really, chemicals that eat through plastics and rubbers really easily. These would be, a lot more practical for most people, as long as it's not such a low quality raincoat that, it's going to rip easily. This is at least something because it protects you from fluids. And the thing is, raincoats designed for really heavy rain are actually probably going to be more waterproof than NBC gear that's designed for sort of brief exposure to chemicals. Let me just put that back so I don't, lose it. For anybody interested, I'll just say this now while I remember. Obviously, as I've done a stream today, at this time I won't do a stream this evening, but what I'll do is about 8 PM I'll schedule a video to go on. So it'll kind of be the opposite way around today because I've done a stream for a different time zone. It will be standard video in the evening, stream, in the afternoon sort of time. So, yeah, Bob, that's a good thing. If you just buy a raincoat with waterproof trousers or like one of those all-in-one kind of rain fishing kind of wet weather suits, again, that gives you very good protection from fluids and things like that. So lol, what is this? Says Crohn's, immunosuppressed near, how to say here, love the vids and protection for myself and family. I've got ulcerative colitis, so that's similar to Crohn's. I'm not on immunosuppressants, luckily. I'm on pentasemeslamine, and I can't remember exactly how that works. I think it just coats the colon and prevents the body doing as much damage. But yeah, that's the worrying thing for me, is like I've been trying to get a bit more of that medication in, because sometimes I have, even at the best of times, difficulty. The pharmacy has difficulty getting it in for me. So, it's that sort of issue, isn't it? Where I don't know what it's like with your meds on the NHS or whatever, or from pharmacies, but with me, I have enough issues at the best of times getting a lot of my medication in, which is why I really like my local pharmacy, because they've gone above and beyond to help me with stuff. So they even said, get your doctor to prescribe you this type rather than this type. It does the exact same thing, but it's actually easier to get in on the supply. So when they did that, I've had a lot less supply issues than I used to have when it was just up to the doctors to write me prescriptions. Yeah, I'm not sure, Shrimp Zoo. I mean, I've got asthma as well. Luckily, it's not very bad asthma, but that also puts me on the riskier list, doesn't it, for this? So I want to take all the precautions I can. Yeah, I think if you've got a good local pharmacy, they can be really good. That's why I like my local one, because it's like an independent one rather than being like a Lloyd's type one. But when I ever used to use Lloyd's or whatever, they were awful. Where I'd never get my meds in, and then they'd be running really low, and then they just keep saying, "Oh, try again tomorrow," and all that sort of stuff. And it would get to the point where I was actually running out of control medication, which is obviously a bad thing. So you can start relapsing on symptoms. But yeah, my local pharmacy is really good because they go above and beyond, to help me get the thing. If ever I come in and they've got the prescription come through, but they've not bagged it up yet, they just say, take a seat and we'll bag it for you now, rather than saying, oh, wow, we've not got it ready, so come back tomorrow or whatever, like some of the other pharmacies I used to use do. So yeah, I'm very happy with my local pharmacy. Yeah, I agree with you, Daniel. I think with any kind of underlying health condition, you need to be a lot more worried, don't you? Just because we don't know at the moment what sort of complications it will have. I've got the Scott M98, and I need to find it. It's probably buried in one of these containers somewhere. But yeah, I've got the M98, which is an excellent mask, very similar to the Pro Mask. But if you're wondering if the Pro Mask is worth getting, definitely. That's cool, Titan. Oh, don't get her in any trouble, West Yorkshire catapults. But yeah, obviously it does help to know people, doesn't it, in certain positions. It depends. I mean, the thing is, I don't think you have to necessarily think that government's like an evil authoritarian thing that's going to always harm you due to a lockdown. Some of it is just literally done to prevent the spread and danger. And if you go breaking lockdown and risk spreading it, then it's a lot worse, Yeah, I take multivitamins every day. ones that include C and D, but also a whole host of other things like iron, Amiga and all that sort of stuff. Eric said, thank you very much again. Kind of wondering if I should get a second filter on. If I could get a second filter on. What as in where it looks like it's got the secondary valve on one side. According to most people who have bought those masks, it's not one you can remove. I think it's like with that Scott M95 I got. I think it's like with this, because bear in mind the M98 and Pro mask come from this same mask series. I think it's like this, where it looks like it's a valve, but it's not actually a removable one, a bit like with the S10s. So yeah, I think most are just left-hand operation, or, you get some with the bottom filter operation. Right, see you, damn it. Yeah, that's the exact thing, Shrimp Zoo. So not catching it is the best possible thing, isn't it? Rather than catching it and then having to hope for the best. Are there any Finnish 60mm filters still available? Because bear in mind, you want 40mm filters in the modern ones, so you really want a 60 to 40mm converter. But if you can't get that, yeah, exactly what Kathy said. I'd say 40mm just because they're easier to get, but 3M filters, again, it depends on which 3M filter. For daily use, if it's the ones like I've got in here, I need to put these back in my car for tomorrow. These type are good because they've got the plastic cases on them, so you can disinfect them easily. Yeah, exactly, Chad. It's the whole thing of the more it can be slowed down, the better medical services will cope, and there should be transparency as well from governments. A cytokine, I'm going to pronounce this horribly, cytokine storm is where your immune system does more damage to yourself, basically, where it overreacts to something. It's the same reason the Spanish flu killed so many people. Yeah, if it's PhD Live, I say if it was implemented properly, then it would be a good thing. The issue is you're always saying, are bureaucrats going to do something properly, or are they going to cock it up? Which, is always a worry. You're an android like in not Beyond Two Souls, David Cage's Detroit Become Human. Yeah, that is a worrying thing also, because that's like saying that's the whole problem we've been having in the UK, is that lots of companies say, well, we're going to fire you or not going to pay you if you can't come into work. So lots of people are saying, well, even if I catch it, I'll have to go into work, won't I? Which is, an awful situation, really, for most people if you have a pandemic spread just because people are worried about money. It's also like the stupid thing I was reading of the US health insurance stuff, where people who want to get tested because they're at risk of having it, have to end up paying like $3,000 medical bills to be tested. It's like, what sort of system discourages people, from being tested because they have to pay for it either way? That's an awful system, because you're going to find you'll have lots of unreported cases which then explode, because if you say to people, your health insurance isn't going to cover this, or that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'd recommend that, Kathy. I'd say they're quite sensible, Kevin, if they're wearing gas masks, because better to go overprotected than underprotected with something like this. Right, I'm going to have a look in a minute and see if the UK figures go on to BNO or the BBC or anywhere, because somebody said they'll release them soon. Live Italy considering closing all schools and colleges. While I've been streaming, 6 new cases in San Marino, 1 new case in Romania, 15 new cases in Norway. So yeah, we've had what is that, 22 or something new cases since I started streaming, which is kind of a worrying thing, and then they're only the reported ones. Thank you again, Eric. I really appreciate it. He said South Korea is the only country acting sensibly, and even then it might not be enough. That's the worrying thing, isn't it? When you've got lots of governments, the ones that are being responsible, and even then you think, can they even handle it? No, I've not even heard of that one. AI or OW? Let me Google it and see what it is. Because if I can have a quick look, I might be able to tell you if I think it looks good or not. The only one I can see coming up is like a little surgical mask, so I wouldn't recommend that one because, again, it's designed to prevent you coughing on other people. So yeah, if that's like a little surgical mask, don't bother with one of those because they're designed to protect you from coughing on other people. What you want to get is like an actual N95 or 3M style mask, something like this at a minimum, because it actually, filters the air you breathe. What was he spamming then before I missed it? Oh. But it actually turned out there was a mask called Suckma when I Googled it. But, I was trying to help people there. Look what you did. Look what you did. This is the future you chose. Yeah, I mean, Iran's in a nightmare scenario now, aren't they? Where the Iranian government was saying things like, we're not going to close mosques and shrines. Go and pray and kiss the things to get immunity or some bullshit they were saying. And then the health minister, well, Corona's under control. Corona's under control. I was joking with Mike, but I don't think he got it because he couldn't remember Bioshock. I said, is a man not entitled to the sweat on his brow? No, says the Iranian health minister. It belongs to Corona. But, apparently the Pope tested negative for it. I kind of slightly doubt that because he apparently is still seriously ill with some, cold after meeting people with Corona. Right, let me just keep refreshing the thing and see if the UK figures have come in. 15 new cases in Norway. I just read that one, didn't I? So that's not on there. Let me refresh the BBC one. Nothing on there yet. I'll stay on a few more minutes just in case the new UK figures come in. The BBC's got an actual proper live feed of it now, so I might bookmark that because that's just another news source to keep checking for these sort of things. Yeah, that's a good thing they should have done, Biohackster, because again, it slows the spread, doesn't it? Pre-filters. In what regard? With masks or whatever else? Do you mean like 3M ones where you get the pre-filters for the AVEC style ones? That's to act as a particulate filter, because 3M kind of does modular style filters for the most part, rather than just doing all-in-one filters. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the BBC, but it's just another source where I can get information on. I think with this sort of thing, you need to be using lots of different news sites and that, especially because I've noticed a lot of the online trackers sometimes lag behind each other or report different figures. So again, it doesn't hurt, does it, to check multiple sites at once? It's just I thought if the new UK figures came out, they'd turn up on the BBC pretty quickly. One new death in South Korea as of a couple of minutes ago. So, not good. If you mean running water and electricity, Ranger, I think unless lots and lots of people get ill in utility sectors, I think that will keep working fine. I'll link the thing that Integrator or whatever he was called was trying to link in the chat, but it wouldn't let him do it. If it fits in, there we go. Yeah, it's because for when he was asking, it's because if you try and post a link, it won't let you do it in YouTube unless you're a mod. He was just linking to those 3M filters. But there you go, there's the one for everybody in the chat. Right, have I sorted out the invites for everybody so far? It won't let you even link that, I'm afraid, because yeah, unless you're a mod, it won't let you link anything on YouTube. That's impossible to answer, really, John. I mean, you can guesstimate. I guess you'll have to look at like when South Korea gets it under control, in when they start dropping down, and then apply a similar modelling to different countries. But at the moment, impossible to really know. I've heard that, yeah, in a lot of hospitals, they're shoving people in body bags that aren't quite dead and then just throwing them in furnaces. It wouldn't surprise me. But I think you'd probably start seeing that happen in a lot of countries, in all honesty, if it gets really bad. If you've ever seen a South Korean movie called The Flu, which is quite relevant for now, there's literally a bit in that where they dig a mass grave pit and they're just chucking people, if they're dead or nearly dead, in the pit, just to, incinerate them in a pit. Oh, kind of related, but the quite accurate version to the book, it's still not completely accurate, version of I Am Legend called The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price. There's a publicly domain released colour version of it on YouTube at the moment. There's quite a good colour restoration. I don't think that's a healthy idea, Thomas, because if we end up doing that, that means you'd kill nearly everybody in your country eventually if it gets really bad. I don't think you really want to look at what North Korea's doing and then say, that's what we should do in our country. I have an email address, but you'll have to try and ask me in a regular YouTube comment that I can reply to and then delete fairly quickly, because the problem is every time I make the email public, I just get loads and loads of spam from kind of dodgy people. So, yeah, if you want to comment it at some point, I can do a reply to you and then delete it, but hopefully you'll still be able to see the reply. Right, let me just refresh the things again, see if the UK ones have turned up. A lot of the time, countries are like half an hour behind now at the moment with reporting when they should be reporting. The thing on the BBC at the moment is just like sports things being stopped or prolonged. Let me just search UK coronavirus. According to the Manchester Evening News, coronavirus live updates, 2 more cases of coronavirus confirmed overnight in Scotland. Oh, we'd already read those, hadn't we? So they've not got any more on there yet. I guess it's a bit slow at the moment getting in. Yeah, it's probably just people not reporting on time like they're meant to, I'd imagine. Yeah, I mean, I just do my own clippers. Oh, you've just reminded me of something very important, Eric. I'm going to do it now. I need to order a new set of hair clippers because my current lot are going to break fairly soon. I don't want to get halfway through cutting my hair and finally break. The Babyliss ones that you can use for yourself, the more recent type of Babyliss ones are 20 quid. Yeah, I'll just buy that. Buy it now. I know. Yeah. So I just want to get that done because you reminded me. Thank you. Because, yeah, my previous Babyliss ones I've had for years are just getting to the stage now where quite often they just start randomly just slowing down and sort of stuttering during the time I'm cutting my hair with them, and then I'm really always worried that they're just going to cut out completely. I don't know if a felt mask would work. I'd assume it might, if it filters air properly. Anyway, let me just refresh the things. I'm going to go off fairly soon because I need to get a video filmed for this evening. For the people wondering what it's going to be on my complete collection of British Geiger counters / radiological detection stuff. So what I'm going to do is basically for each one, hold it up in front of the camera and the softbox light, sort of show it, and then say, if it's ones I can demonstrate on camera, I'll demonstrate it. If it's ones I can't demonstrate due to obsolete batteries and all that, I'll just have to say this is what it looks like, this is what its function would have been. But in the video I've got that I can show the Mark 1 contamination meter, which I can't power, the Mark 2 Radiax, again, which won't work, the MD3, which does work, the rate meters, which I can demonstrate working, the Plessey PDRM82, and the other little portable UK one. This one that works. I think that's all my British Geiger counters. Not all these are technically Geiger counters, but yeah, and then this one as well. So the problem is with a lot of these is Britain was a massive fan of using obsolete batteries in these old things. So while this one actually works fine for doing like the circuit test, the problem is the high voltage for the ionization chamber on this one. I've kind of got it running now, but it's not reliable because it's basically where it uses, if I hold pressure on that, it sort of works. But again, it's because it used the weird old obsolete battery of a certain voltage. So you can put other batteries in to get a close voltage to that, but it doesn't quite work out the same way. But there you go, there's that. But anyway, that will be in the video later. The cool thing of this one is it has a weird sphere-shaped ion chamber inside there. Oh, I've just got a message come through. Mike just said, did you order clippers on Twitter? Let me have a look what Mike said. Okay, I don't know if it was Wall Home Pro Basics, but I've had some Wall ones before that didn't last very long, but I think I was just unlucky with those, Mike, because they were, I think it's just, me being unlucky because I know Wall ones are normally regarded as quite good, but I've already ordered some anyway. They're only 20 quid and they're Babyliss ones. They should be fine for lasting a year or two. I mean, the thing is, cut your hair literally once or twice of them, you're already making money back on them because how much it costs just to have your hair shaved in the UK. So the French will be absolutely fine, is what we're saying then, Marvin, will they? Yeah, I sometimes go on poll and TV and that. It's weird, though, at the moment when you go in a coronavirus thread and people are posting pictures of me and telling people to go watch my videos. That's quite a surreal feeling. If you're 22, your odds are probably quite good. Digital X Mage. Yeah, that's the worrying thing, though, isn't it? If, other people get it and survive, and then you've isolated, but you're in a vulnerable position, you're going to have to risk basically just staying isolated until a vaccine gets around. Based on current figures, 3 to 4%, but again, the thing is the mortality rate. It's the older you are, the more at risk you are. Underlying health conditions, the more at risk you are. So if you're somebody in your 20s or 30s, you're probably got a very low mortality rate if you catch it, but that's still even not guaranteed because they've had like doctors in their 20s and 30s dying of it in some countries. Somebody was spamming the chat and been timed out by just spamming a single letter. Thank you, Mike. Anyway, let me refresh the numbers, but I'll be going off fairly soon. A massive thank you to everybody that's done the super chats and all that today. B&O Newsroom doesn't have any UK updates on there yet. Let me refresh the BBC one. No, the latest things they have on there is symptoms, headache, cough, muscle pain, fever and tiredness, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing. So it's literally like the flu, except for there's more difficulty breathing. So, that doesn't tell you much, does it? All right, I'll be wrapping this stream up. I don't know, John. Often the South Korea figure is meant to go on about 1 a.m. UK time. And on some nights when I've been up late, it never goes on until like 1:30, 2, so I don't even bother staying up for it. I just see what is in the morning. Also, in some countries, even though they're meant to do like one daily update, they end up kind of doing staggered updates, where they say like 100 now, another 100, rather than doing 200 at once. They do it like that. I don't know why. Ghost Jesus just linked me to something. Let's see what he linked me to. Cool. I'll have a look at that. Thanks, Ghost Jesus, if you're watching. I'll have a look at that after the stream. Oh, have they just updated it, William? Let me have a look. It's not on B&O or BBC yet, unless I'm being daft. Where have you seen that 85 number? Let me check Sky News, but there's nothing on the BBC about it yet, at least not on my end. Coronavirus UK cases rise again as chief medical warns of some deaths. Does it say on this one? No, it just says taking the total to 53 on here. I'll refresh B&O Newsroom again because they're generally pretty up to date. But I'm refreshing quite a lot of these trackers and none of them have showed it yet. Can't see any on here, I'm afraid, about it. Check Department of Health on Twitter. Okay, UK Department of Health. Twitter. Here we go. Thank you very much. Update on coronavirus testing in the UK. As of 9 a.m, 4th of March, a total of 85 positive. Yeah, so that was done a minute ago. Thank you for that. I will subscribe to them on Twitter, as much as I don't normally use Twitter. Follow. Right, following them now. So yeah, thank you. So yeah, UK figures 85 people infected so far. They have done 16,659 tests, and 85 of those tests were positive. So there's your current figure. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for all the people that donated. Don't forget to like the stream before you go off because it helps YouTube share my videos. So there won't be another stream tonight because I've already obviously streamed today. But what I'm going to do is get a video filmed in a minute and then get that edited and put up for around 8 p.m. tonight. And that's going to be all of my historic British Geiger counters and sort of radiological equipment things. Anyway, thanks everybody. I'll be off now. Have a good day. Stay safe, everybody, and keep following the news. Right, see you.